Tonight, how the cycling world will honour Olympian Melissa Hoskins. Her close friend breaks her silence. What led to the death of an elderly tourist struck by the cockle train at Victor Harbour? Hot pursuit, the moment police pounce on two suspects in a stolen car in Adelaide's west. A health warning as Adelaide's unusual weather creates a mosquito frenzy. And David Warner reunited with his lost baggy green as the wickets tumble at the SCG.
Live from Adelaide, 7 News with Mike Smithson.
Good evening. Adelaide's tight-knit cycling community has broken its silence about the tragic death of Olympian Melissa Hoskins. Two of the sport's biggest names have released a video message as cyclists from around the world prepare to arrive in Adelaide for the Tour Down Under.
They were the women that won gold and broke a world record in 2015. Melissa Hoskins and Annette Edmondson were teammates on the track and close friends off of it.
It's a really, really hard situation and we feel for everybody involved.
32-year-old Melissa died last weekend, struck by a car being driven by her husband, Tour Down Under champion Rowan Dennis, who's been charged.
It's obviously been a super challenging time for the entire cycling community.
The first cyclists arrive in Adelaide tomorrow, 1 week out from this year's Tour Down Under, the cycling community uniting at the most difficult of times.
I'm sure that there'll be moments and it will be tough at times, but when that gun goes, they're here for it with a job to do.
The couple and their two children were meant to headline a family ride next weekend. Now, the TDU has withdrawn Rowan Dennis from any involvement in this year's festival and will honour Melissa with a minute's silence ahead of the women's stage 1.
I think it's really important that we get this opportunity to be around each other, to help each other through this. It's obviously an incredibly tragic time for everybody involved.
Lauren Rose, 7 News.
7 News can reveal the elderly victim of yesterday's Victor Harbour train crash was spotted walking along the tracks just before he was struck and killed. The train driver sounded the horn and slammed on the brakes, but it was too late for the 87-year-old foreign tourist.
It was business as usual for the cockle train as happy holidaymakers climbed aboard during its busiest time of the year. But despite the sunshine, the sombre thoughts of yesterday's tragedy remained with the steam train's volunteers.
We pass on our condolences to the family concerned. Obviously they're here on holidays and they had such a tragedy, and we hope that things will work out for them in the future.
Family of the 87-year-old victim from overseas were quickly on scene after he was hit and killed just before 3:30 yesterday afternoon. 7 News understands he came up from the beach and was walking along the tracks. The train driver spotted him and sounded the horn twice before slamming on the emergency brakes, but it was too late.
We normally don't hear long toots, we hear little intermittent toots. No, today was a long hoot.
Yeah, very, very sad, and I believe the man was visiting as well, which makes it extra sad.
The track was reopened this morning after being closed for investigators for several hours last night. The more than 150 passengers on board
Please try and be patient. Unfortunately, it's one of those terrible circumstances that we've all suffered for. So please sit tight.
were moved onto buses, while the train driver was taken to hospital.
Obviously the driver and the fireman were very physically shaken, and obviously they're in a bit of shock.
The volunteer crew has been offered counselling. Some locals say there needs to be better signage at this crossing, particularly as you don't see the train until it's round the bend.
The safety of this track definitely needs an upgrade. It's very hard to see and understand, you know, what's happening at the bottom of the stairs. There's a lot going on.
Hannah Ford, 7 News.
Christmas and New Year gatherings are behind a surge in coronavirus across Adelaide. 1,974 cases were reported in the past 7 days, up from 1,475 the week before. It coincides with a major change in the way we test for the virus. From now on, anyone needing a PCR test will need a referral from a GP.
The PCR testing is for that group of individuals who are at higher risk of getting severe COVID. And those are the people who already should have a plan with their GP because they're the ones that need to get on to get the oral antivirals.
PCR tests are still free for those who are referred. Firefighters at MFS headquarters in the city had a shock this morning when a garbage truck carrying a load of burning rubbish drove up their driveway. The Garbo, who thought he was doing them a favour, backed out and dumped his flaming trash onto Wakefield Street. Firefighters blasted the burning bags with hoses.
Trying to avoid rubbish turning up at our doorstep, but it meant that the fire service didn't have far to go.
A cause isn't confirmed, but the MFS warns people not to put any batteries into their rubbish bins. Well, it's time to batten down the hatches again with more summer storms on the way. Live now to Casey Treloar case. We could see severe conditions across Adelaide tomorrow.
Mike, it is hard to comprehend given the hot, humid and sunny conditions here in the city now, but it is all about to change. Severe thunderstorms are already sweeping across the state's north and west, with the metro area in the firing line tomorrow. The system's due from around late morning and is set to continue throughout the afternoon and into the early evening. And that'll likely see lightning, thunder and showers with the chance for heavy rainfall at times. Also, the possibility of gusty and damaging winds. It will all be a bit hit and miss though, all while staying hot and humid. Now this is what's headed our way. That big system hit Ceduna this afternoon where it's dumped close to 15 millimetres of rain there. It's slowly moving toward the Eyre Peninsula now. This video captured over waters at Streaky Bay, and it has been an unusual summer to date. Certainly not what you'd expect in the first weekend of the new year. Mike?
Unusual indeed. Thanks, Casey. Dramatic security video was captured the moment police swooped on two suspects they were chasing in a stolen car. When officers searched the four-wheel drive, they allegedly found a stash of drugs and cash.
A short western suburbs chase ends at Brooklyn Park. Police pounce on two suspects in a stolen car.
You could hear the car going fast, really fast, and it's a dead end.
The Mitsubishi Pajero was caught on camera cutting through a servo on the corner of Holbrooks and Henley Beach roads. Multiple patrol cars were in hot pursuit, and when the two suspects drove into the unit complex, they were trapped. Police swarmed from every direction.
Oh yeah, there was lots of them. Some come from this way, some come from through the gate, also the ones that were chasing.
A 33-year-old Henley Beach man and a 41-year-old from Seaton who were arrested have been charged with a string of offences, including illegal use of a motor vehicle and drug possession. When officers searched the stolen Pajero, they allegedly found cannabis, prescription medication, fantasy and cash.
I think people should really start taking more responsibility for their own lives and the other lives around them, and stop thinking in the moment, oh, let's have a bit of fun, let's steal someone's car, and actually think about the consequences what that causes.
Police know these notorious housing trust units at Brooklyn Park very well. Last night's arrests are just the latest drama to happen here. A couple of weeks ago, a woman who was stabbed in the head with a fork was captured on CCTV staggering to a nearby servo for help. The following day, MFS crews raced to the complex when arsonists torched a Toyota Camry parked under a carport. Peter Caldecott, 7 News.
A woman's been rushed to Flinders Medical Centre following a nasty crash at Blackwood. The 70-year-old from Coromandel Valley was driving an SUV which left Main Road near the Blackwood Scout Hall and slammed into a fence and tree. It happened just after 11 a.m. The woman, who was the only occupant of the car, is now in a stable condition. Major crash officers attended the scene. Health authorities are yet to speak with the family of a Hectorville man who died while waiting 10 hours for an ambulance. 54-year-old Eddie died on December the 27th after 3 emergency calls were made from his home. Lighthouse Disability, which was providing care for the man, says it's deeply saddened by his death, which is now the subject of an urgent investigation.
We've seen our hospital system really fall off a cliff in terms of its capacity to support the most vulnerable South Australians.
There is a lot of work to be done, and we've got a very clear plan throughout the course of 2024.
The opposition says the government has failed to deliver a key election promise. A Seacombe Gardens man has sprinted from court after appearing for the first time on child sex offences. 34-year-old Alan Hesse is charged with making a child amenable to sexual activity. The magistrate urged him to get legal advice after he arrived without a lawyer. He's back in court in April. Well, there are new pictures just in tonight from the Tokyo tarmac disaster. They showcase the incredible bravery of the Japan Airlines crew to get every passenger out alive.
It is Tokyo's newest ghoulish tourist attraction, two twisted and charred monuments to a disaster. Only temporary though. They were cleared from runway 34 today and Haneda Airport is slowly returning to normal. New pictures provide insight into the professionalism of cabin crew who helped save 379 lives. Hold your nose and mouth and stay low, shouts one attendant multiple times. Children are frightened. Please open, begs one. For 18 chaotic minutes under immense pressure, they administered first aid and used torches in the smoky darkness as a mother with a harnessed baby gets on the floor. Both are wearing masks and Mum produces her phone, perhaps what she thought could be her final goodbyes. Today, Japan Airlines revealed attendants performed one other crucial duty.
The pilot felt a sudden shock and struggled to stay on the runway. A fire broke out, but the pilots didn't recognise it in the beginning and learned about it through the cabin attendant.
The captain was the last one off. Fresh surveillance pictures show the Coast Guard Dash 8 having entered the runway before stopping. JAL 516 landed 40 seconds later, nose still in the air as the impact ignited a fireball that would kill 5 crew on the smaller plane. An air traffic control transcript suggests the Dash 8 had been instructed to hold short of the runway, but investigators will also examine whether a broken stoplight contributed. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
A burst water main caused a massive headache for residents in Bowden late this afternoon. For about an hour, thousands of litres of water spewed out, hurling bitumen into the air and damaging a nearby apartment block.
We've got quite a bit to clean up now. Obviously the street has been impacted as well, so the clean-up's going to take a while, and apparently our water's been shut off completely to our block.
Emergency crews eventually got on top of the gusher, but not everyone was upset with the outcome. Economists are warning new home builds will fall to their lowest level in more than a decade. A perfect storm of rate rises, material costs and a shortage of tradies is fueling the downturn.
The Australian dream, a detached home on a quarter-acre block surrounded by garden.
We've got a 30-year mortgage that doesn't strain the weekly pay packet.
Is now a standard of living out of reach for many.
The rise in the cost of building a home has been compounded by the increase in the cash rate.
The cost of building up 11% from 2022. The price of timber frames, terracotta tiles and steel jumping by more than 50% during the pandemic.
Obtaining these materials was very hard, so therefore it's very expensive. So delays itself on a project costs an arm and a leg because of the interest, especially now.
Despite this, the government is promising a bumper period.
We need to put shoulder to the wheel, all levels of government, including local government.
An ambition to build 1.2 million homes from 1 July 2024.
That's 240,000 new homes every 12 months for the next 5 years. Economists believe will fall well short this year, building just 179,000.
This will be the slowest year for new detached housing starts since 2012.
As energy-intensive materials become more expensive.
Everything is going up. Glass, bricks, concrete, labour, under this government.
Besides a critical shortage of tradies, suppliers believe one of the biggest problems is delays in building approvals.
The workflow of the whole process, where it starts from drawing at council, and that's where the big issue is.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
Blade Runner Oscar Pistorius is just hours away from being released on parole after serving half his sentence for killing his girlfriend Reva Steenkamp. The 37-year-old has been in prison since October 2014. The ex-Paralympian's parole conditions will last 5 years. He must be at home at particular hours. He cannot do media interviews or drink alcohol and must participate in parole programs. Pistorius claimed he shot Steenkamp when he mistook her for a burglar, but was eventually convicted of murder. David Warner has been reunited with his lost Baggy Green, but its movements remain a mystery. The feel-good return kick-started a powerful day in pink at the SCG.
On the day that was supposed to be all about pink, a flash of green.
It's been found. The cap has shown up.
The PM thrilled.
Fantastic.
It was a sporting mystery up there with the death of Farlap, the disappearance of David Warner's baggy greens.
I am pleased and relieved that I've got my baggy back in my hands.
The bag in which they were packed was found at the team hotel in Sydney with all the contents inside, said Cricket Australia. The movements of the missing bag are unknown despite extensive searches.
My mail is that they went to the baggage area yesterday and there was the bag. It was down the back of the couch, Tim.
But the area had been searched. Was the bag stolen, then returned? No one's saying.
There are two words that explain this. One's David and the other one's Warner. Wherever there's David Warner, there's headlines, mystery, confusion, sensation.
A sensation that almost overshadowed Jane McGrath Day. The SCG, a sea of pink, 32,000 spectators.
Just to see the crowd coming in, everything awash in pink. It's absolutely brilliant.
The Prime Minister also drumming up support at the McGrath High Tea.
This is an extraordinary legacy that has assisted more than 120,000 families.
The goal is lofty, that every breast cancer patient has access to a specialist nurse, and the Pink Punters are making it happen.
We just get pink from Picker every year, and we've already started to work on our uniforms for next year.
Players too, from both teams, those caps to be signed and auctioned. Maybe now they could auction one of David Warner's baggy greens. That would make plenty of money for the McGrath Foundation, and after all, he's still got at least two, including the original.
Any cricketer knows how special their cap is, and I'll cherish this for the rest of my life.
The cricket itself, evenly poised, the longer it goes, the more money they raise. Tom Saker, 7 News.
Methinks the plot thickens, Bruce.
Dave Warner?
The cap. Say no more. Hey, what else have you got coming up?
Well, Smitho, we saw some really great stuff happening at the SCG off the field for a very, very worthy cause. But on the pitch, this test has ebbed and flowed and had it all as Josh Hazlewood turned the match in Australia's favour with 3 wickets in 1 over. The Reds start the new year with a good effort against the top team, but it didn't all go their way. While in the NBA, a unicorn goes up against the Greek Freak in a classic big man matchup. Smitho, that's NBA talk, so we'll catch up later.
Don't know what you're talking about, but sounds good. Thanks, Bruce. A humid summer has made for perfect conditions for mosquitoes. After the break, a warning about deadly mozzie-borne diseases and how you can keep yourself safe. Also, hope fading in the search for survivors following Japan's deadly earthquake. Denmark's Queen on her final gold carriage ride before Princess Mary steps up. And where's Wally? The mystery of the missing galah finally solved. Our unusually humid summer has created a perfect storm for a spike in potentially deadly mosquito-borne viruses. SA Health has already reported 23 cases of Ross River virus, and we can expect the numbers to rise.
Spring rains, a humid summer, ideal conditions for an outbreak of diseases such as Ross River virus and the dreaded Japanese encephalitis.
It doesn't matter where you are in South Australia, if you get bitten by a mosquito, that mosquito could be carrying one of these diseases. And some of those diseases are potentially fatal.
SA Health and 14 councils across the state have been monitoring the mozzie population, setting up more than 300 traps, and while the numbers have been relatively low so far,
the numbers of mosquitoes are starting to increase. We haven't detected any of the viruses yet, but that generally happens towards the end of January.
And that's prompted a warning not just for holidaymakers along our waterways, but all South Australians to cover up because there's no treatment for any of these diseases. The most serious of the viruses is Japanese encephalitis, and the only one with a vaccine. But supply is rapidly running out, and residents along the Murray River and lower lakes are urged to get the jab as soon as possible.
Fever and chills perhaps to start with, but then getting a very severe headache and then going on to confusion and sometimes seizures and then maybe even unconsciousness if it's very severe.
Professor Spurrier says prevention is always better than cure by wearing loose-fitted, long-sleeved, light-coloured clothing, using an insect repellent, limiting outdoor activities between dusk and dawn, and clearing breeding sites for mosquitoes around your home. Deanna Williams, 7 News.
There are fears the death toll from the Japan earthquake disaster could exceed 300. Hopes of a miracle beneath the rubble are fading for the 250 people still unaccounted for.
In the precarious ruins, the race to reach the quake survivors. Loved ones overwhelmed as paramedics treat the elderly man, carrying the scars of days trapped. Rescue crews throughout the disaster zone working as quickly, as carefully as they can to find and free them. Here, a woman in her 80s was rescued conscious from this home 72 hours after the earthquake struck. But these teams know after 3 days the chances of survival are slim. The number of people listed as missing growing to more than 200 unaccounted for, including 3 children. Almost 800 people remain stranded, including some 60 tourists at this rest area struggling to stay warm with their cars running out of fuel, the road cut off in both directions by landslides. The New Year's Day earthquake triggered so many of them, like this one in Wajima. People yell for others to run for their lives as they watch the mountainside crashing down, destroying everything in its path. To get around the wrecked roads, the Japanese military delivering relief supplies by sea. As residents return to see what the earthquake left behind. My house was here, right here. Everything is gone. In the rubble of where he lived and worked, all Kohei cares about is his cats. With his sister leaving food and water. Hoping they can be found where so much has been lost. I just want my cats to be okay. Paul Kadak, 7 News.
Denmark's Queen has enjoyed her final ride in the 24-carat royal gold carriage before officially giving up her throne later this month. Queen Margaret embarked on a short journey from the palace to the Parliament for a traditional reception. She'll step down on January the 14th, handing the crown to Prince Frederick and our own, Australia's own Princess Mary, being elevated to Queen. Great stuff. Well, the mystery of Where's Wally has finally been solved. Police safely returned the striking painting of Wally the Galah to relieved Lyell McEwen Hospital staff this morning. It was brazenly stolen from the cardiology unit last Thursday. A member of the public found the undamaged painting neatly wrapped up in a funeral home at Elizabeth. A 38-year-old Salisbury Heights man has been reported over the theft. Well, there's been a long first birthday celebration at Adelaide Zoo. Keepers stuck their necks out for giraffe Matumi on his special day, treating him to ice cake made with carrots and greens, yum, which he enjoyed alongside his fellow ungulates.
Happy birthday, dear Matumi. Happy birthday to you.
Matumi was moved to the zoo from Minato Safari Park last year. Well, the heart of a South Australian community destroyed by fire. After the break, the race to get the wood shed back up and running to help vulnerable locals. Also, a dramatic police chase, how a suspect was cornered. The King returns, how AI is bringing Elvis back to life. And later, the bargain new holiday deals luring South Australian families north. The people behind a South Australian community shed ravaged by fire are racing to fix its broken heart. They're urgently trying to get the Strathalbyn woodshed back up and running so locals don't drift into isolation.
Inside Strathalbyn's scorched woodshed, the tools are well and truly down.
That, as you can see, was a spirit level, aluminium spirit level. Aluminium melts at about 700 degrees, so yeah, pretty hot.
Machines have malfunctioned, benches blanketed, but the most devastating material lost is the town's community fabric. Some vulnerable locals have already slipped out of sight since November's fire.
It's not just about making things out of wood, it's more about people meeting with friends and getting out socially.
The shed's insured, but it'll be out of action for at least 12 months. Too long, according to members who are looking to raise $15,000 through GoFundMe to set up a stopgap solution.
We need to be able to have the shed open again, in even if it's a modified format.
The group says as many as 60 locals would use this area any given week, making it a critical social link for the Strathalbyn community.
We have some people here that it's their life. They have very few other interests.
Now it's in everyone's interest to give the shed the grit to get back up and going. Tom Johnson, 7 News.
A teenage gunman's opened fire, killing a child and injuring 5 other people at a high school in the US state of Iowa. The attack unfolded on the first day of the new term. Some students were forced to flee while others boarded up classrooms to protect themselves.
Officers located during the search of the school an improvised explosive device. The shooter has been identified as 17-year-old Dylan Butler, a student at Perry High School.
The explosive device was dismantled and no others were found. The gunman took his own life. An attempt to pull over a stolen car has sparked a pulsating police chase across Perth. It ended in front of startled factory workers, with the 2 fugitives caught after a long and risky pursuit.
Running through a crate factory, police catch the final suspect of a chase through Perth's southeast. Earlier, they'd followed a stolen Toyota Prado from the air and tried to stop it on the ground, erratically racing through 5 suburbs.
And I heard a smash and he just kept going. Wow, they're in trouble.
Was it scary?
Yeah, it was pretty scary. It left me with goosebumps at the end of it.
A broken, flapping bonnet frustrating the 2 men inside. An attempt to rip it off the first time was unsuccessful. Eventually, the passenger finds the strength to pull it from its hinges. But the driver's clear vision didn't translate to clear advantage. A fence and trees brought the Prado to a halt. The car cooked, it was time for a foot race. One man gave up, out of breath and out of chances. The other ran further but was eventually grabbed inside the factory as workers in high vis went about their day. One of the accused is 29, the other 41. They face several charges, including driving while suspended and reckless driving.
Please do not move!
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Mary Poppins star Glynis Johns is being remembered for a stellar 60-year career after her death at the age of 100.
We're clearly soldiers in petticoats and dauntless crusaders for women's votes.
After her first role in 1948, Johns was also nominated for an Oscar for the 1960s Australian classic, The Sundowners. The king of rock and roll has been resurrected thanks to the power of artificial intelligence. A life-size hologram of Elvis will take to the stage in London later this year in the concert series Elvis Evolution.
Like the sweet love of a choir, and you light my voice, got time to burn in love.
Hunka Hunka. The technology was developed using home video footage and thousands of personal photos of the superstar. New names exposed as the second batch of Jeffrey Epstein court documents is released. That story is next. Also ahead, a close call for Australia's luckiest food delivery driver. And the teenage gamer who achieved the unthinkable, beating Tetris. More famous names have been revealed in newly released court documents linked to pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. It's claimed he liked to brag about being friends with stars like Cate Blanchett and Leonardo DiCaprio, even though there's no proof he knew them.
A blockbuster cast of fake friends sex offender Jeffrey Epstein boasted he knew to one of his alleged victims. He would be on the phone a lot, and one time he said, "Oh, that was Leonardo," or "that was Cate Blanchett," or "Bruce Willis," that kind of thing. So name dropping, the lawyer pressed. Yes. There is no evidence he ever actually knew any of those celebrities, but Epstein did once run in powerful circles. Tonight claims former US President Bill Clinton threatened Vanity Fair not to write sex trafficking articles about his good friend J.E. But the magazine says it categorically did not happen. The allegation was made in an email sent to a journalist in 2011 by Epstein and Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Giuffre.
I know what happened, and there's only one of us telling the truth.
The unsealed court documents are part of her settled suit against Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime girlfriend and accomplice, who is currently serving 20 years.
Part of this is understanding who helped facilitate the trafficking, who was around, who knew about it.
Epstein was arrested on sex trafficking charges in 2019. He killed himself in jail while awaiting trial. But questions linger about his connections. High-profile names are littered through the unsealed files. It does not mean they're accused of wrongdoing.
There's a lot more to come. This beginning part is a small percentage.
More documents will be released in the coming days. In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Taking a look at finance now, the ASX 200 fell 5 points, rounding out its worst start to the year in more than a decade. Traders are on edge ahead of the latest jobs data out of the US. Tech stocks were the worst performing, while financial shares bucked the trend. The Australian dollar is currently buying just over 67 US cents. Australia's luckiest food delivery driver has survived a close call with a car in Brisbane South. The rider drove straight into the path of the oncoming vehicle. Despite being thrown from his bike, he wasn't seriously injured. The Sunshine State has been battered by storms. Now it's launching a new cut price campaign to lure South Australians to Queensland for a holiday. Not a bad idea. Don't miss that story a little later on 7 News. Or you could stay here as well. Teenage boy has become the first person ever to crack Tetris. He was left gobsmacked when the final bricks fell. His achievement all the more impressive given he's just 13 years old.
Unless you've been living under a block for the last 4 decades, these sounds should be familiar to you.
Use your thumbs, use your eyes. Find yourself Tetrasize.
Tetris, the game we've all wasted precious hours and brain cells on, only for it to end like this every single time. Until now. The boy seen here gasping for breath is teenage gamer Willis Gibson from Oklahoma.
I'm gonna pass out.
He's the first person in the world to topple Tetris. 38 minutes in, and on level 157, he reached the game's mythical kill screen.
I can't feel my fingers.
Scoring so high, it could no longer function.
I was just sort of shocked and just happy that I did it.
In case you need a refresher, these are the rules of Tetris. Fit the shapes into solid rows and make them disappear. As the levels rise, the shapes speed up, along with your heartbeat. And good luck if you make a mistake. Willis didn't make a single one.
Yes!
He's dedicated the win to his dad, who passed away in December.
He was always very supportive, and I think he'd be proud.
The game's CEO has called it a feat that defies all preconceived limits of this legendary game. Willis says it took a lot of practice, and if you feel inadequate, join the club. Jacinta Lee, 7 News.
Bruce says he's very good at Tetris.
Oh, I went outside and actually got a life.
Oh, okay. Now, another action-packed day at the SCG.
Smither, absolutely. It's all happening there. Of course, the Baggy Green is back, but it's an opposition we've actually grown to like. They are having a go, Pakistan, so it's very entertaining. Coming up after the break, all the highlights on a dramatic end of day 3 at SCG, where even South Aussie Travis Head gets amongst the wickets. A red mist at Hindmarsh as Adelaide United passed up a chance to knock off ladder leaders Wellington. And a match-up of giant proportions as the new kid in the block shows the Greek freak a thing or two. Welcome back. Fast bowler Josh Hazlewood has turned the third test in Australia's favour, doing some serious damage in the second last over at the SCG. Australia lost 5 for 10 in their 299. Pakistan lead by 82 but are in disarray at 7 for 68 after Hazlewood's 4-wicket blitz just before stumps on day 3.
His baggy greens recovered. Dave Warner, teammates and the tourists donated pink caps for Jay McGrath Day. Debutant Siam Ayub lucky not to damage a knee. Marnus Labuschagne standing tall.
Glorious shot.
Labuschagne 50. Steve Smith eager a ball of black tape be removed from the sight screen. Ground crew member Michael had the crowd tickled pink. Smith seeing red.
And taken.
Convinced a puff off the pitch played a part in his undoing for 38. Labuschagne done for 60.
Oh, got him! Through him! Pakistan are right back in it.
Travis Head trapped in front for 10.
Umpire says out!
Watch the ball. Mouthed constantly by Mitch Marsh. Deeds matching words. If only Alex Carey could lip read. Cleaned up for 38. Top scorer this series, Marsh made 54. Australia all out 299. Pakistan in front by 14 runs. Rookie all-rounder Amir Jamal snaring his first 6-wicket haul. Left arm loaded, Mitch Starc fired.
Late swing back in. That is an absolute seed from Mitchell Starc.
A pair for Shafiq. Josh Hazlewood snared captain Shan Masood for a golden duck. A Pakistan fight back counted first by Nathan Lyon. Travis Head's part-timers snaring Babar Azam for 23. Head's good mate Carey sharp behind the stumps. Hazlewood doing serious damage in one over. Not one, not two.
Got him! Chops on!
But 3 wickets. Pakistan suddenly 7 for 68. The tourists lead 82 runs. Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
A Melbourne derby looms as Aaron Finch's home farewell after announcing he'll retire at the end of the Big Bash season. His side, the Renegades, had their slim finals hopes dashed by the Hurricanes.
For good length.
Oh, he swung hard. That's going to hit the roof, is it? I think it's stuck up there.
Stuck up there, Al. That's incredible.
Hobart chased down the 148-run target with 8 balls to spare. After 1 month as interim head coach, Scott Ninnis has declared he wants the 36ers' top job next season. But since taking the reins, Adelaide has won just 1 of 5 games.
Yeah, I'd love to get it from the start of the year. I'm also realistic to know that wins and losses is going to come into play, and that's hurting us at the moment.
Tomorrow night, the Sixers host Melbourne United and will wear a replica jersey to celebrate the 25th year anniversary of their 1998-99 championship win. And in one of the games for the NBA season so far, 2-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo went head-to-head against the 7'4" of Victor Wembanyama.
Puts it down!
Are you kidding me? Come on. Unicorn. Stop it.
The 20-year-old Frenchman scored 27 points and produced this incredible block, but the Greek Freak's 44 points was enough for victory. Adelaide United kicked off 2024 with a 2-2 draw against ladder-leading Wellington Phoenix at Hindmarsh Stadium last night. The Reds came from behind twice thanks to 2 goals from Japanese import Hiroshi Ibusuki, but were left to rue what could have been.
A point at home against the league leaders, not enough to make it a happy new year for the Reds.
We always want 3 points at home, and, you know, I think we were good enough for the 3 points tonight.
The Knicks took the lead in the opening 15 minutes, but Adelaide through Ibusuki responded almost immediately. Bovalina had a brain fade, gifting Wellington the lead before once again Ibusuki tied things up. From there, the home side dominated and should have taken all 3 points.
The boys' response was first class, and they did everything that we wanted in the second half tonight, but get those extra couple of goals.
Adelaide will need a reshuffle in defence after Nick Ansell was forced off through injury. His replacement Ben Wallen sent off as United were forced to settle for a well-earned draw. Aaron Kunda's return to form, a huge plus.
Weren't happy with some of the things he was doing, so he had a little bit of a spell, and I thought his response tonight was outstanding. He was the most dangerous player on the pitch by a long way.
Adelaide hosts MacArthur on Monday. Robbie Cornthwaite, 7 News.
And Leighton Hewitt believes Alex de Minaur is ready to win his first Grand Slam. Australia's United Cup team touched down in Sydney last night, flying in from Perth on a private jet. Back on court today to prepare for their semi-final, de Minaur was still revelling in the biggest win of his career over Novak Djokovic.
Obviously,
remember for the rest of my life. And it's definitely not every day you get a win over, the best player in the world.
Last night, Rafael Nadal demolished local Jason Kugler in straight sets at the Brisbane International. He faces Aussie Jordan Thompson in the quarters. And for tonight, that is our sport. Before I go, though, I've called Mike Smithson a lot of things over the years, but for the very first time, Smitho, I can call you Grandpa. Congratulations to your daughter Emma on the arrival of baby George and Grandpa Smitho. That sounds good.
Thanks, Bruce. Ben and Emma were desperate, obviously, to call him Bruce, but I talked them out of it.
Well, they're only human.
But thank you. You're next. You're next. Don't forget that. Thanks for that, Bruce. Well, new holiday deals are on offer to lure South Australians north as Queensland fights to recover from a damaging flood season. Discounted airfares and accommodation are up for grabs, but there are calls to extend offers to other hard-hit tourism hotspots across the country.
It's the Sunshine State, but the past month, Queensland has been in a state of disaster. Cyclones and flooding hitting the far north hard.
We missed out on our peak season. That dropped away to 40s and 50% occupancies.
Now some relief for tourism operators.
Nearly 90% of businesses are open and ready to take visitors. What we need now is those visitors.
A $5 million move to make it happen.
The Australian and Queensland governments have done a deal with Qantas and Jetstar,
bringing heavily reduced fares on travel from mid-January to the end of March this year. The cheapest, Brisbane to Cairns, one way for just $79. It's $109 from Sydney and just $10 more from Melbourne. Travellers from Adelaide and Perth can also get there for under $150. Meanwhile, Qantas is also offering nearly half-price flights to Townsville from along the east coast. There will also be cut-price accommodation packages in coming weeks through Qantas Hotels and Holidays, My Queensland and Luxury Escapes. While it's good news for tourism to the north, it's still unclear if that same help will extend south of Brisbane to the Gold Coast, a region that has already been ravaged by wild weather.
I think it's a great idea to do that. I want to tap him on the shoulder to do discount flights to the Gold Coast as well.
To help hard-hit tourism hotspots get back on their feet. Ned Barham, 7 News.
Casey's back after the break as Crows captain Jordan Dawson and his long-term partner say "I do" in a star-studded ceremony.
And weather-wise, a humid, wet and stormy days on the way. Those details in the full forecast coming up live from the Adelaide Zoo.
Time for the weather now with Casey, who joins us from the zoo. Case, it's open till sundown tonight.
Mike, it might be a bit hard to spot Wong Wong and Fooni, though. It does appear they have already gone to sleep. But every Friday night for the next 3 weeks, the zoo will be open to visitors until 8:30 p.m. Tonight is the first of zoo nights. But now is usually the animals' bedtime, so you'll likely see them starting to wind down. It's a beautiful, balmy evening for it, with plenty of special activities on for the whole family to enjoy. There is even a silent disco going on behind me here now. It's pretty hot and humid for them, around 31 degrees here in the city after we reached a top of 35. Around the state, and it was another mixed bag. Hot and humid around most parts, still pretty mild though around southern coasts. While severe thunderstorms producing damaging winds, heavy rainfall and potential hailstones are developing over the west coast and lower Eyre Peninsula tonight. And that's a result of a trough in the middle levels of the atmosphere moving east, along with a broad trough of low pressure in our north, producing unsettled conditions around the state right up until Sunday. Interstate tomorrow, a shower or two and 28 for Brisbane, a cloudy 26 for Sydney, 31 for Melbourne. Back home, and we've got a whole heap of convective energy and tropical conditions set to produce widespread areas of rain and isolated thunderstorms with the chance for severe conditions. A top of 33 for Port Augusta and Port Pirie, 31 for Whyalla and Kadina, 34 for Renmark, 30 for Clare, 32 for Murray Bridge, 25 for Port Lincoln with possible heavy rainfall, 26 for Victor Harbour and 34 for Narracourt. And a warning to growers, the wet conditions mean there is a chance for a downy mildew outbreak. For the city, a warm night's in store, then hot and humid with a top of 31. Rain and the chance of thunderstorms possibly severe to develop from late morning. On metro waters, easterly winds to 15 knots, seas below a metre. To the surf, there's not much swell around this weekend. Best bet will be around Victoria. factor tomorrow. Looking ahead, a high chance for continuing showers and a possible storm Sunday with a top of 28, showers easing, and 23 Monday. A cloudy 24 Tuesday, then warmth and sunshine again, 26 Wednesday, 29 Thursday and 31 on Friday. And before I go, let's take a look at tonight's ray of sunshine. There have been some incredible moments for Jordan Dawson since he joined the Adelaide Crows. But they were all topped on Wednesday when he married long-term partner Millie Dutton in a star-studded ceremony. The wedding in the Barossa saw fellow players, family and friends assemble to celebrate the happy couple's nuptials. Even their furry friends Hazel and Maggie were there to make the day extra special. And I reckon it's time maybe I join in with the silent disco here.
Good on you. Thanks for that, Case. That's all the news for now. I'll have updates throughout the evening. So from all the Adelaide 17 for now, good night.